Well, hello, everyone. I am super excited to connect with you. And if you're on my mailing list, you probably already know who I am. I'm Dr. Isela Garcia. And with me today, I have.
Nina Vasquez. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. If you don't know me, I am a trauma-informed life coach, and we have a really cool topic to talk to you about today. So I'm just excited to jump in to this topic.
And I think it gives you all a good chance to kind of see us together. So I have had many conversations recently about women just feeling some type of way. Like either there's this overwhelming sensation of frustration or rage or sadness or overwhelm. And I had a reading yesterday with someone who recently had a baby. And so we were talking about just hormones that happen when you're pregnant. And it made me think about me when I was pregnant with my daughter. See, most of you know that I waited 18 years to have her, and it was fully intentional to heal all of my garbage, all of the stuff that I had, that so that I would be a more present, loving, responsive mom. That was my goal. Was like I had to get rid of all of the things that would have gotten in the way of me being able to be fully responsive to her needs. And I got pregnant, and I had done so much work, and emotionally I was a mess. And I couldn't get on top of it. And not only was I cry and sad, and I would probably, now that I reflect upon it, dealing with depression, I also felt very overwhelmed by feeling overwhelmed with shame, I guess is what I was feeling, because I had done the work. I knew how to connect to what I was feeling. I knew how to navigate those difficult, heavy experiences. I had been doing it for years. And here I was pregnant and completely overwhelmed with what I was experiencing and the shame of not being able to get through it. And I isolated because I couldn't get on top of it. And I remember talking to Gia, and I kept saying to her that, because I know a lot about the biological connection to you and the baby in utero. And so I kept saying to her, this has nothing to do with you. This is not about you. We've like tried to have a baby. I had two miscarriages before I got pregnant with Gia. And so this was very, very intentional, the whole thing. And here I was, like a sobbing mess. And it made me think about that experience. And then it also made me think of just the journey that we have with hormones. And now I'm on the other side of things where, I'm hopefully praying that I'm done with periods. I'm in that, I'm almost to a year. But I've had conversations with a lot of people my age who are talking to me about how hard things and how big things feel. And yes, there's so much happening, and our lives are challenging. And then, what's happening in the United States is challenging. But there's this thing called hormones that might also be impacting how we are experiencing our lives. So, Nina, you have done a lot of work, and I just want everyone to know I'm 52. Nina, how old are you?
45, going on 46 next month.
Okay. So, I Nina's going to kind of break this down a little bit for us, because we've had so many conversations just about our own personal journey. But here's the thing. I think back on when I was your age and even a bit younger than you are right now. And I knew about menopause, but what I knew about menopause were my friends who were 20 years older than me, with the sweating and the, hot flashes at night, the sweating at night, and mood swings. But I didn't know more than that. And I don't think we collectively knew a whole lot about it until in the more recent years. And so I didn't know that what I may have been experiencing in my late 30s and into my 40s may have also been as a result of perimenopausal symptoms. I just didn't know. And I thought it was my thyroid. So let's get into it. Explain to us the different steps or stages of menopause.
Okay, this part is so important to know because many people get it wrong, and it's because there's just this lack of education. So I believe it's so important for us as women to educate ourselves on our body and then advocate for ourselves. And it's very important nowadays to advocate for ourselves. We'll get into the reasons why. But you want to break down menopause into three different stages. So you have perimenopause. Perimenopause can start as early as 10 years before the day Perimenopause can start as early as 10 years before menopause. Okay.
Mhm.
So menopause is literally the day that marks 1 year since you've had your last period. So when people say I'm in menopause, they're not really in menopause, they're postmenopausal. Okay, so we've got perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausal. Once you hit 1 year without a period in the healthcare system, that marks that you have experienced menopause, meaning the pause of your menstruation, right? So at any time after that, you are postmenopausal. And postmenopausal is a different season. And like Isela said, maybe she's getting close to that point. It's coming
September.
September. The
September.
reason why we are hopeful is perimenopause can feel like a storm. It can feel like a roller coaster. It's so unpredictable. So the average age, I'm just going to blanket for all cultures for a second because it can vary. The average age is 52 of when many women, that's average. So it could happen before that or after that. So that's when, like most on average, women stop having a period around that time. And we transition into postmenopause. But what we really want you to know so you can start advocating and educating yourself about is this perimenopausal stage. Because estrogen is unpredictable, meaning sometimes it can be way higher than even when you were in your 20s, and sometimes it can drop so low, and it's a roller coaster, and not every single woman experiences it the same. Some people's roller coaster is just a little bit.
Mhm.
It's just a little kid roller coaster. And some people's is like the biggest roller coaster ride you've been on or the hardest storm you've walked through. So we want to know that so that way when you're walking into that stage, for me, it happened like I remember the night sweats starting when I was around 40, around that age when I was like, what's happening? That I went to the doctor and started hormones. Back then it was testosterone. Um, and that helped my night sweats, but I didn't actually understand that I was walking into perimenopause yet, right? Um, so yeah, that's something to really know. And then I'm just going to share a couple of things and Isela jump in too, because here's what I have experienced. And my symptoms are different than my girlfriend who's just a year younger than me or 2 years younger than me. Her symptoms have been totally different. My symptoms have been all mood and brain related. So when I was in my regular menstrual years, PMS would be debilitating for me. Not menstrual cramp wise, but like mood swing wise. And I would go into what I would call like somewhat of a depression during that time.
Mhm.
And then when I would have my period, I would feel so much relief. Like, oh my gosh, yes, I had my period, feel so good that week. And then I'm on the incline again. Like estrogen is supposed to rise during that time, and then it drops in the later half of your cycle. And estrogen is that hormone that makes us feel like powerful, right? Progesterone comes in the second half. So it's really important for us to know what's going on. Well, so what's happened for me just this year, it's gotten worse. So PMS, I said it was like PMS times 1,000 for me. And it felt as though the only way I could explain it is something kind of came in and took over my brain. And I was like a bitch. I was angry, I was agitated, I was irritable, I had no capacity for socializing. People would text me, or I would have like, I have Telegram, I have WhatsApp, I have all these. I had no capacity to respond. People that I love and I care about, I just did not have, I cannot, it's like I cannot deal. Right. And I had, in June, I had, 3 periods. So my the brain sends signals to the ovaries to like ovulate, and they were not doing what they're supposed to do. um, and it was like chaos. And because I was so aware, I could see my mind like in that depressive state, and my body in this depression state. And what you said, Isela, was I just isolated
Mhm.
because I didn't have any social capacity. The most I could do was tell somebody that I care about locally, like, I'm not doing very well. And I put a little brain next to it. I'm not going to come over today. It was like, felt so hard. Um, and what Isela helped me realize during that time was I'm experiencing what it feels like to be depression. And it felt like I could just barely function, and I couldn't find any joy. I was very apathetic, like just didn't care. I just didn't care. I used to say, I just don't give any F's right now, you know. But I was so aware of it all happening. I was like, okay, I'm watching Nina walk through this, but I was also doing something that I really want to share with you all is I was kind of judging it, judging myself for the way I felt, saying things like, I shouldn't feel this way. Life
Yeah.
is great. I have so much to be thankful for. This is like gaslighting ourselves, right? And so Isela helped me in one of our meetings realize, Nina, but you're like adding suffering on top. Why won't you just allow yourself to walk through those emotions, right?
Mhm.
And support yourself through it. And that really helped me. It shifted me into this space of like almost like a nurturer for myself. Like, oh, Nina's walking through this really challenging time where there wasn't a lot I could do about the up and down roller coaster through that month of estrogen, right? But I will tell you, what it did do was it took all my people pleasing tendencies away. And it felt like a little bit of an awakening,
Mhm.
like from a little bit of a spiritual lens. It's like stepping into this next season of my life. And it literally had me like, the action I took was like, call my doctor and tell her right away, I want to be put on estrogen now. I trust my body. I know what I need. And I remember saying to myself, if she won't do it, I'll find somebody who will.
Yeah.
That version of me did not exist prior. The version of me before would have been like, let me ask her what she thinks I should do, right? Abandoning what my intuition was telling me. Like my intuition was like, okay, I'm on progesterone, I'm on testosterone. It's time to add estrogen, right? Now we're definitely not here to convince you to use hormones, but we're here to tell you what we've found out about hormones, and what we think you should educate yourself on as well. But now, I say all that was my experience, and then I went and visited a friend recently, a week ago, and she said what she experienced was heart palpitations and panic attacks, right? And so I had heart palpitations years ago, and that's why I started the progesterone. So it's almost like everybody's experience is different, and you might actually run into a woman who also gaslights you and thinks that like, what are you talking about? I didn't have it that hard. It was easy for me, right? And maybe judge your experience. And so, yeah, that's what I'll add for now. What's coming up for you? Share that.
Well, I think a couple things. First off, I think it's important to mention that most doctors, including OBGYNs, are not well informed in the area of menopause and the 3 stages. and this is why there's been more and more women coming out. I think there was even a special on TV recently about the experience of moving through those three stages. I think we tend to gaslight ourselves. We tend to, pull up those bootstraps and, I'm good, everything's fine, and we keep ourselves busy and we disconnect from what's happening within our bodies. And the challenge with this is that it's sometimes really hard to pretend that it's not there. It even when you, because I'm one of those people where I have like 15,000 things happening at one time. And for me, the way that it has impacted me is sometimes I'll get brain fog. I'm really good at I miss things like, like everybody else when you have too many things going on. But I remember like these details that are important to me. And I'll be sitting in a conversation and I'll just kind of go, I have no memory of what you're talking about. And it was like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, I know we met. I know we had a lengthy conversation, and I have no memory of those details at all. And it's a little, it's like we don't want to admit that it could be hormones. And sometimes, sometimes that's lack of knowledge, but sometimes just the understanding that we are getting older and that our bodies do change in this season of our life. And I think for my postmenopausal friends, I think so many folks just kind of keep it moving and don't realize that they're off kilter because their hormones are off kilter. Mm-hmm. And I always go back to this quick story. My husband and I renewed our vows when we were together 10 years. And I told him when we got married, if we make it to 10 years, y'all need to know my story. I'm not going to go into it now, but like, come follow me and I'll tell you my story one day. The 10 years, I said, we'll make it to 10 years and we'll actually have a ceremony. So we made it to 10 years. And my in-laws, that same year, were hitting their 30-year mark. And so I said to my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, I said, why don't we all renew together? That would be fun. My father-in-law looked at his wife and he goes, I don't know if I want to marry this woman again. And I was like, what the hell? Because my in-laws don't argue. One of the things that he has said about her is we've been together, many, many, many years, because I think they're upwards of 50 years now, but many years. And I've never had a good fight with this woman. And so they're just a couple that has, outwardly, I don't know what happens behind closed doors, but, they are a very pleasant, lovely, connected couple. And she had like this rage had come out of her and she was snippy with me, and she's never been snippy with me. And so I just remember her becoming like a whole different person during that period in her life. Mm-hmm. And so I thought about that over the course of my own experience of, this is for many of us a part of the experience. And for me, what compels me to share this is that I don't want anyone to sit in silence. And I don't want anyone to feel shame about this or afraid to just explore options or to go to your doctor and your doctor's like, no, this is normal. Or they do blood work and rely only on the blood work. Now, I found an integrative medicine provider who I absolutely and completely love. And she has shared with me that there's a saliva testing that I did that she feels is much more accurate than the blood work. And so I had blood work done. I was put on HRT. I had testosterone pellets put in, and then I was doing progesterone. And I felt better than I had before. But after a while, I kind of evened off, and it was just something was off. The brain fog, lethargy. I felt just tired, and I'm like, well, of course, Isela, you're doing all of these things, but it's like it just felt off. I was having night sweats pretty bad. so I was up and down all night long because I'm hot and I'm cold. I'm hot and I'm cold. couldn't regular. And then I have like the windows open, or like I have like two fans going, and my husband's like shivering next to me. And so I had the saliva done, and then I had a compounding pharmacy make a cream, and I didn't think I would be consistent with the cream, but they made a cream for me that's specifically for me. And I have been consistent for the last several months. And I have to tell you, I feel a bajillion times better. I feel so much more awake, more energy, and my brain fog has lessened significantly. And I don't have night sweats anymore. And that might
Oh,
also be because we fixed our AC unit. So I'm not gonna lie about that. It might be that too.
I'm so happy that you're feeling better. And, I also have started estrogen. I'm doing the patch, I'm testing it out, and I'm on the second dose. I like asked for a bigger dose after the 4 weeks. And I'm in my luteal phase now. I might start my period anytime now. And I feel night and day difference than I have in the past. And it's almost as I want to talk to a couple things that you were talking about. It's almost as though I have a little bit of a calming effect
Mhm,
in my body. I can feel this sensation of calm. And progesterone really helps with that, especially anxiety. But I didn't know it would happen with estrogen and such a low dose. I mean, there's many steps above where I'm at now. Um, and I'll start with this form and might try a different one. But, I feel so grateful because I felt like I was going crazy.
mhm,
And it feels, you mentioned something really interesting, the forgetfulness. So my roommate is 44, or she's 1 year behind me. So we're the same. And so we're both walking through this period of our life together at the same time. And we'll like say something. And so what I'm noticing about perimenopause and the forgetfulness, it's almost as though, when you're dysregulated in your body, your nervous
yes.
system, like I'll lose people's names when I'm dysregulated, right? I'll forget someone's name. But that happens now in perimenopause without the dysregulation. And so something happened the other day. We have a garage. I was backing out of the garage and I hit the garage door.
Oh.
I was not dysregulated. I just forgot to wait for it to rise all the way. So literally the back of my car hit the garage at the bottom of it and dented it. And I felt terrible, but it was literally like one of those brain moments of like, I just forgot I was waiting. And I could have been really hard on myself. I forgot someone's name, literally like forget people's name in the moment that I know, you know. And so we don't want to be hard on ourselves. And that brings me to somatically, how to support yourself somatically through these emotions. For one, if you're experiencing anger and rage, and being around anger and rage was not safe for you as a kid, you're going to be activated by your own emotion.
Yeah.
It's going to throw you, like you said, throw you off kilter, and you're going to be judging yourself like, I shouldn't be mad or I shouldn't be angry. And when you can practice healthy anger release, practice healthy anger rage release, it's helpful to move this energy out. We just want to try not to give it any meaning. Just like, I feel rage right now. It might be stored rage that you have felt, you have pushed down and suppressed your whole life, and it's coming up now, and you have no control over it. So it's really important to have some somatic tools in your back pocket to help you. Emotional release, emotional processing tools, because if you don't, you will not know what to do with this energy. And sometimes we go to coping mechanisms, overeating, over drinking, and it's so important for you if you're in this age group, 35 to 55,
Mhm,
20 years. It's so important for you to take care of yourself, your health, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of it, your brain. And so what you put in your body and how you emotionally process it's very important. So yeah, all of it, the hormones are not the quick fix. But what I see, I work at a weight loss clinic, work for a weight loss clinic, I coach there. And what I notice is when women in this age group go to a regular doctor, because people are not, here's what happened. The WHO, is it who? WHO?
Huh?
Do I have that right? The
The WHO
WHO,
organization. Mhm.
yep, they did a study, and I don't know the exact year, but they did a study back when our parents were walking through this. Our grandparents, actually, grandparents and parents were walking through this. And they basically scared everybody and told everybody that estrogen cause, I mean, not estrogen, all hormones basically cause cancer. And so all the women in the generations before us walk through this period of time and they called them hysterical. So a lot of them got hysterectomies early when they didn't need to. And they were just like, they instilled a lot of fear. Well, since then, that study has been debunked, proven incorrect. But all those medical doctors that went through the schooling and got their education was all during that time, past 20 years or whatever. So now when you go to a doctor that doesn't specialize in hormones or doesn't specialize in menopause or perimenopause, they're going to try to treat the symptom of depression, the symptom of anxiety. And what they're going to try to treat it with is, SSRIs, anti-anxiety medication, sometimes even trazodone, some of these, what is the anxiety medication? I should know this, you guys. I actually worked in pharmacy for over a decade. I can't remember the name. A lot
Of
of
an SSRI.
anxiety medication. It's not coming to me. See this? It's not coming to me, but it's on the tip of my tongue. Um, and it's not wrong. I'm not saying not to use these medications, but that's treating a symptom,
Right. Yeah.
right? Treating the root is getting to the root of why this is happening,
Mhm.
right? We can treat depression with getting to the suppressed emotions, right? But I'm not saying don't use those because they can be life-saving, especially during times where you um, are in a really dark place. Not saying not to use them, but I want you to know that hormones can make a big difference if you can get your hormones optimized. You want to think of optimized. Um, and they're not for everybody. There's some people who are not candidates. Once we give you some resources today, people to kind of learn from, you'll find out if you are a healthy candidate for what types of hormones. Another thing I want to mention, we mentioned like creams and pellets, and estrogen also comes in a vaginal cream or gel. And many women who are not candidates to use topical or oral can use it vaginally very safely. And many women, especially in postmenopausal, are having um, uh, urinary issues that can be solved with vaginal estrogen. And you can also experience vaginal dryness and pain during intercourse. And all of that can be solved with vaginal estrogen. So many of the doctors that we're going to share with you as people to like learn from, they recently went to the FDA to fight against the black box warning label on vaginal estrogen. And they're still in the fight to get them to remove that. And it was a urologist who was leading the way in that fight against the vaginal estrogen. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes to support us women. And a lot of the women, I see it like this. There's these women who walk through this stage and they're, like Isella, they're like your age or a little bit, maybe a little bit older, 50, 52 to 55. And they're turning around and they're like just saying, I got you. I got you. I'm going to help you. Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, we want to share with you all of these resources. And we also want to share this because let's shift a little bit into the spirituality lens of it too, right? Um, We are a human, we are soul and a human experience on this earth with a human body.
Mhm.
And you're going to, there's going to be many opinions out there. And one of the opinions that was really affecting me at the beginning of this journey, of like this hormone journey, was menopause is natural. And you should be, this is an opinion out there, that you should be able to naturally go through this stage of life without any support. And it was really, I was struggling with this opinion because I believe I believe in being drug free as far as any Western medicine drugs as much as possible. And where I had to realize is that I have autonomy in this human experience. And if we had hormones at the higher levels in our 20s, what's wrong with me supplementing my own hormones? Like I would supplement magnesium in my body, like I would supplement, vitamin D in my body, right?
Mhm.
And maybe if we lived in tribes and we were outdoors all the time and we foraged off the land, I don't know if it would be different. But we live in a different time than that. And so I really had to sit with like what feels good to me, and would I use that to limit bringing in a resource to help me. And
Mhm.
only you will know what's right for you. But that was what I had to walk myself through. Did you struggle with that also?
I made mention that um, a lot of my friends, when I was in my 20s, were in their 40s and older. And so I literally like observed them going through this experience. And I was fortunate enough to be with people who shared their experience. And one in particular, a good friend of mine, got to a place where she's like, I need hormones because her life was miserable. Like it was just the sweats were the hot flashes were like you could like visibly see her struggling through each one, and she's like, I don't want to live like this. And so being around older women, and I was surrounded by people who just really opened their heart and shared their experiences, and I didn't have a stigma attached to it because of that. I
That's
just
so
saw it was a natural part of, what happens when you get older. And if you need help, get some help. And, I think this goes back to like when I was going through my early stages of my healing journey, I got on antidepressants. And the reason why I got on antidepressants is because I couldn't do the work. I was so dark and deep in the trenches of that depression that I couldn't even journal. I couldn't even like it was so hard for me to do the work that I wanted to do. So antidepressants sort of helped me get to this sort of, yeah, this playing field where I could actually start to develop these skills and build my capacity to move through these emotional experiences that I was having. And I was on them for many years. And then once I felt like, okay, me and my doctor felt that, I had the skill set and had built the capacity to be able to navigate these very strong emotions that I was feeling, I got off of them. And that's what I mean, really, truly, it was like such an eye-opening experience for me now that especially now that I reflect upon that. And I think it created a foundation of getting the help I need without feeling shame around it. And I think that's more than anything else. I just want people to not feel afraid or ashamed or guilty or any of the things that we do to ourselves when we go, you know what? Maybe I should seek out and get some
Yeah.
medicine or some
Mhm.
hormones or some, and to speak up for yourself. My goodness, your doctor says no, you're fine. And then you say, okay, even though in the back of your mind you're like, but I really am not.
I'm really not okay. I'm really not
Find
fine.
another provider.
Yes.
Keep advocating for yourself.
Yes. And, what I found is that if you are, if you have a trauma response of people pleasing in any way, you will be the one in the doctor's office that just like leaves holding your tongue. I see you. I feel you. Find another one. Just
Mhm,
call another one. There are, it's challenging, but I will tell you, at some point you're going to be so forced into it. It's almost like, girl, you're going to get some help, and you just show up. You just show up. You're like, no, we're not walking through this. Isela, you have such a good point about using what you need, like supporting yourself in this
mhm,
human experience. Um, I did not use SSRIs, but not while not legal in every state. I did microdose for several months to bring myself out of I would say, a pretty dark depression where I would have thoughts of unaliving myself,
mhm,
you know? And that really did help me come up, like you said, come up to a place where I could really do the work.
mhm,
If you're actually going to therapy, like you said, you was going to therapy, but you don't have the capacity to journal, you don't have you got to bring yourself up a little bit. And we
yeah,
can there's so much support, and we don't have to shame ourselves for it. When I was in the military, they really conditioned me to think that if I needed help at all, I was weak.
yeah,
If I was going to get help, and that hindered for years. I should have gotten help, but because I had that belief, it controlled my action. I never got help. That was one of the reasons why I never took any SSRIs, because I thought I would be weak then,
mhm.
and I really needed the help. And so I hope that you can hear us share our experience and reflect, because there's no reason not to get help.
Mhm.
You are so like deserving, and we are all deserving of like getting help here in this human experience.
I felt like I remember how adamant I was against it and SSRIs. And it was right around when Prozac first was released, and people were talking about it like the happy drug, and people were all on, it was like the stigma was really ugly out there. And I remember my psychiatrist pulled out a brain. I remember this like it was yesterday. He put a head on like a head that comes apart, and he put it on the table and he said, listen, I know that you like having control and you don't like to be out of control. And so he starts to break down what we knew at the time. I think we know a lot more now, but he started to break it down in a way where I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a try. And I walked out, I said, but not Prozac. Because everyone says that that's bad. So we did like 5 different medications, and your side effects, and it's like all of the things you have to kind of figure out when you're first trying to take something, and ultimately landed on Prozac. But I will tell you that it helped. And I think that's what now today, like I said before, I did HRT, I did the pellets, I did progesterone. And this was before I really started to know some things, because I just felt shitty. I remember going to my OBGYN, whose name was BJ Ho. And I love his name. And that's part of why I chose him. Dr. BJO. But I went to him, and and I've been struggling with thyroid issues for forever and a day. And he listened to me, and he's like, okay, let's try these things out. And like I said, they worked initially, but I will tell you that the cream, the estradiol cream that I'm on right now, which is a combination of estrogen. I think I actually don't know what it is, but it's a combination of things. But I will tell you that my little funny story with this, I used to use like over the counter with what's the stuff called, yams cream,
Yeah.
is that what it is, yams cream? So
Yams
I was,
cream.
yeah, I was using that because it's a good alternative. And I think it actually works for a lot of people. And it had come to a place where it just wasn't enough for me. But I was using that every day. And you just kind of slather it, you just kind of do this, and you put it on your boobs. You put it, so I get this other hormone cream, and I'm like, it's a clicky thing. So you got to click, click, and I'm like getting it, I'm putting it all over my body. And then so I go, wait a minute, I don't know how to do this. Am I doing this right? So I go to YouTube and oh my God, they're like, don't touch it. Don't touch anybody afterwards. You can't touch the doorknobs. And I'm like, well, how do I do this? So now I started to freak out. So now I have created a system where I click, click, and it's between my thigh or in my inside of my thighs or here, but I don't touch it. So I go like this, and I tell my family nobody can hug me for the next 2 hours. But I was like putting on my boobs. Oh my God. So like do the research, read the pamphlet that comes with it. If you know
Yeah.
me, I'm a little ADHD, so I kind of just do it and then figure it out later. But
That's hilarious. I could just see you in your bathroom doing this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it is it's a fun wild ride at this age, you know? This age of life. It's you have a lot more wisdom, but you also have a lot more moments like that.
yeah.
Where you get to laugh at yourself. You're like, I just did that. I've actually tried one of the naturopathic functional medicine providers that I listen to or learn from. She actually has people put their testosterone up there. What would
Oh.
she calls it a hoo-ha. I don't call it a
Mhm.
hoo-ha, but so I tried that a little bit. I like it just on the thigh as well. I just use the top of the clicker thing, like you're saying, and I
Mhm.
just rub it in. But yeah, I've had some moments where I get to laugh at myself. Like I just
Mhm.
did that, like with the car, or forgetting someone's name. Or also do yourself a favor and stop trying to keep everything in your mind, your to-do list I mean, get it out of your mind, get it on paper, get it on a sticky note, get it on a something, because there's so much that you're holding and it's just adding to that. Like you're gonna forget something. And then you're
Mhm.
gonna try to beat yourself up for getting something. And all the while, of course, you're gonna forget something. Okay, last thing before we share a couple resources or people. You said something. Oh, I lost it. Yeah. You said something about, oh, serotonin. Okay, so I don't blame these doctors for wanting to give you serotonin, SSRIs, because estrogen affects your serotonin.
Mhm.
Estrogen affects your dopamine. So if you have that like no drive to do anything, it can be estrogen and it could also be testosterone, right? And so I don't blame them for wanting to do that, but they're just forgetting to get to the root first is
Mhm.
all, because your estrogen, it definitely affects your brain,
Mhm.
and it's very um, anti-inflammatory actually.
Mhm.
So if you're experiencing inflammation, that could also be you know uh, possibly, I don't know for sure, but possibly you might be in the up and down wave or storm of the estrogen. No woman really gets out of this also.
Yeah.
So maybe your storm isn't, maybe it's like sprinkle, like in Seattle, Washington, but no but woman gets to bypass this. And a lot of people will say, well, I had an early, like I had ovary or I had things removed. So they think they're not affected by their hormones. Well, we
Right.
still have hormones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it affect our hormones affect all of our organs in our body, actually. It's not just sexually.
Yeah. I think this is really huge. That I don't know how many people, women who had hysterectomies, tell me that they didn't go through any of these, well, not the symptoms itself, but didn't go through perimenopause. And I'm like, but no, not in the same way necessarily, but that there are some things that were impacted by the lack of hormones that our body used to make.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us to acknowledge. I keep going back to the fear thing, and the fear and the shame, because I know this is what's happening. People are like, well, I used to be able to do this really well. I used to be able
Uh-huh.
to get all these things done, and why am I not able to do this as easily and as quickly as I was able to before? And we beat ourselves up.
Yes.
And we are afraid to share that story with others. And we keep pushing ourselves to do better, to be better. And if you just pause and
Yeah.
just go, hey, I wonder what my body might be telling me right now.
Yeah, that's so true. And over the past several months for me, it just kind of all has happened over this last maybe 3 or 4 months where it's gotten harder to function. I
Mhm,
got to this moment where I was like, I'm gonna have to change careers during
mhm,
this time where I was feeling kind of off kilter, unstable. How am I going to be a life coach? How am I going to do this work and show up in this way? I was so afraid because I was not, I didn't feel right. If you ever say, I just don't feel like myself, that's a really
mhm,
big sign. It's a big flag. Like, oh, if you say, I just don't feel like myself, we
mhm,
have moments of that, but if it's just like weeks of that, and also, Isela, it's really easy, like you said, that shame comes in. It's like, why can't I do things like I used to? Why am I not functioning well? Um, and we can't forget that the brain is tied to the system. Like your nervous system is all intertwined. So if you think you have less capacity, you do,
mhm,
right? But it's not something to shame yourself about or to feel um, guilt about. I want you to think of it like an invitation to step into like nurturing yourself right now. Like what do ask yourself, put yourself in that, what is it, third person, first person, third person. This is how
mhm.
you say it. You say your
As the
name,
observer, you're looking as the
be the
observer.
observer. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna be the observer. Nina is really having a hard time with right now, right? What does she need? What does she really need? Is it connection? Is she needing connection? Is she really needing just a nap? Like, honestly, I've taken so many naps over the past several months. It's wild. I was never a nap person before. Is it she needs a nap? Does she need to talk to a friend? Does she need to nourish herself with like something nourishing, something warm? Yeah, what is it that she really needs? And so you can talk to yourself like that as the observer so you can start taking care of yourself and asking even your loved ones. Sometimes you just need a hug.
Mhm,
And like I really like I've actually gone over to my brothers and sister-in-law's house and said, I need a 7-second hug.
mhm,
I just need a 7-second hug. Because that oxytocin, right? We can get that from, especially if you don't have loved ones, and you can get it from pets too if you have pets at home.
mhm.
Like really removing the judgment is the biggest part though.
Yep. Removing the judgment.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what books do you have to share with us?
Okay, I have a couple books. Um, One of them is by Dr. Mary Claire Haver. I suggest that you follow her on it. This one's called The New Menopause, but she talks about um, the stages and how to support your body. There's a whole list of side effects. We didn't even, I'm not side effects, symptoms, sorry, of perimenopause and menopause, and we didn't even talk to you about them. Um, if something new is in your life happening, I bet you it's on this list. It's so long, from frozen shoulder to
Frozen shoulder. Yeah.
things in the ear,
Mhm.
dry skin, hair issues
Yeah.
like
Hair loss.
hair loss,
Yeah.
memory issues, brain fog, mood changes, agitation. We may name some of them, but some of the body
Bleeding
stuff that you would,
gums.
yes,
Gums. Yeah.
bleeding gums. That happened to me too during that time. So this book is pretty awesome. Dr. Mary Claire Haver, follow her on social media because she basically gives everything in this book on social media.
Yep.
Um, and then another one is like it's by Dr. Mindy Peltz. She was the one who wrote the book Fast Like a Girl, and fasting in postmenopausal stage is pretty healthy. In perimenopause, I want to caution you against doing it in your luteal phase. But the menopause reset's pretty good if you're wanting to support your body nutritionally. She's got some really good stuff in here. And then I think all of us as women, I didn't start to learn really about what happened in the cycle of our, I used to think menstrual cycle was that time that you bleed. I didn't know it was like, okay, we have a 28-day cycle, and each phase of the cycle was different. If you're not educated, don't shame yourself right now. If you don't understand your own cycle, don't shame yourself. But this is a great book. In the Flow will help you learn about the cycle and what each hormone is doing during each part of your cycle. And I think it's cool because it talks about how to support yourself nutritionally, how to like work well in with your cycle, how to function in your life with your cycle. It could be business or work, it could be working out. Like what kind of workouts should you do during your luteal phase, right? We have a lot more freedom on the other side in postmenopausal stage. It's, because we're not doing the up and down unpredictable chaos is not happening. So I'm looking forward to that season.
So
Hmm.
am I.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
looking
out
forward to
there.
Isela, you had a book, a recommendation as well, right?
Actually, and I don't know if it's a good book as a recommendation these days. It's just because I had older friends. Christian Northrup had written a book called Women's Wisdom, Women's Body, or it could be Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, and something like that. And it's like a ginormous book. And I remember everybody getting that book. And so because everybody was getting that book, I also got that book and read it way 20 years before I ever had any kind of symptoms. And I think that was helpful to me too, because again, I don't have a relationship with my mother. And even if I did, we didn't have these kinds of conversations. We didn't like, I remember starting my period and it was like, oh, I went out to the kitchen and I just told her that I started my period. Like, and that was pretty much the end of the conversation. And so having these women in my life was really, I think, such a critical part of my own awareness. And yeah, I had less stigma around it. It was just, this is just something I need to be aware of. And so I'm
Yeah.
hoping that just what we're offering today will help you just be reflective of your own journey and your own experience. And I hope that if you are feeling isolated or you've been beating yourself up about, not being the same as you were before, or getting pissed off at people when you're before maybe you didn't get so pissed off,
Mhm.
um like we get it and we're here. I mean, we have a community together that we do talk a lot about trauma healing and spiritual development. And we invite you to join us. Now maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you're like, I don't know about this spiritual thing, but there's a lot of resources out there, so I don't want you to feel alone. And I don't want you to gaslight yourself anymore if that's what you've been doing.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to end today. Thank you for being here with us today.